John, talk to me. Mike Tomlin's excited about Kenny Pickett's potential in 2023. He said that I'm excited about Kenny, individually in terms of the growth that he's capable of making and what he's willing to do to realize that. So, what are your thoughts on Kenny Pickett? Somebody that doesn't have the highest of potentials.
I want to. That's what I was going to ask you. What is Pickett's potential? Can he be a top 10 guy?
Can Kenny Pickett be a top 10 quarterback? Joel Dehls. That's a loaded question when your offensive coordinator is one Matt Canada. Now, as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, we really struggled to find a good replacement for Todd Haley, who they fired a couple of years ago. And the NFL coaching is so overlooked when developing a young quarterback. And Kenny Pickett last year showed the intangibles. Game winners, a clutch gene, an intangible factor that when he decided to go back to pick for a fifth year, he bet himself, he made himself a first-round pick and guaranteed himself almost generational wealth in that decision. There is an intangible to Kenny Pickett where maybe that could, to a degree, supersede his lack of arm strength and him maybe not being the most gifted quarterback. But Kenny Pickett last year did show one skill, creating out of structure, that did impress me. Being able to, when shit hit the fan, get out of structure, make plays on the run, throwing on the move. On the flip side of that, he had Derek Carr-like footwork, a little bit antsy in the pocket, and would bail in the pocket often, a clean pocket often. And I felt like in his college tape, he left a lot of meat on the bone as well. Maybe giving up.
Said pockwork.
Pockwork in the pocket. His footwork was a little bit antsy, and that was something he could develop. Mike Tomlin talked about, look, Kenny has to develop everywhere. His rookie year was terrible on the box score, the stat sheet, but he won them a lot of games and finished 7-2 as a starter. Can the Steelers make the playoffs with Kenny Pickett? There's no doubt in my mind. But can they make the playoffs with Matt Canada as their offensive coordinator? That's where we need everything to go right. Because if T.J. Watt misses time, the way he missed half of last year, and Najee Harris is not 100%, it won't matter, even if Kenny Pickett plays well, because the Steelers team does not have a wide enough margin of error, because their offensive coordinator is probably the worst in football, and they retain him for one last hurrah, kumbaya for Matt Canada. And for Kenny Pickett, this is going to be the make or break it year in many ways. Can he take a step forward? Because if he doesn't, then for Pittsburgh, you have questions. He still needs to get better. Well, he showed a lot of the intangible tools. As a Steeler fan, I believe in Kenny Pickett to overcome Matt Canada. But he has weapons. The Steelers bring in Isaac Seumalo. They add in Nate Herbig, a really good backup guard.
Jets.
For a Steelers offensive line last year that had no injuries, the Steelers have a really good offensive line they've built, especially on the interior. And Dan Moore needs to get better at left tackle, but outside of that, they're clean. There's no excuses really for Pickett. But there is, of course, a pretty big issue in the offensive coordinator, and that's where things get really confusing for Pittsburgh.
And that's why I do give him an excuse. Matt Canada is the worst offensive coordinator in the league. And I tweeted this last night at like 3:30 a.m. I'm just a night owl at this point. I think you guys have a lot of talent offensively. You mentioned your offensive line really came into itself last year. Najee Harris got healthy, and we saw the Najee Harris that we saw his rookie season. Najee was a big part of the 7-2 success as well. You mentioned it as well. Kenny Pickett down the stretch was huge. Definitely in that fourth quarter specifically when you needed a drive, KP was able to give it to you. What is the one thing holding me back is Matt Canada. And for your sake, I hope he's fired after week 2. I hope you guys are one of the worst offenses in the league for weeks 1 and 2 and that he's gone because you guys have too much talent offensively. Deontay Johnson could benefit from Matt Canada no longer being there. I believe that regardless, George Pickens is going to be a solid option. The chemistry that KP and him showed immediately last year was great. Pat Freiermuth is one of the better tight ends in the league as well. And again, I already mentioned it. Najee Harris is one of my favorite backs in the game. His versatility, both rushing, his ability, his vision, his strength, his ability to be a receiving back as well, blocking. Najee Harris is the complete package. It's just a matter of health. That's fine. But regardless, we saw him at his healthiest last season and at his best.
Really good.
When he's healthy, he is amazing. Now, to talk about the defense, you mentioned it. TJ missed some time. I'm confident your defense will be good so long as TJ's on the field. You still have Holcomb. You still have Cam Hayward. And with
Landon Roberts.
There you go.
How good he is.
But TJ Watt, with those three guys, the front seven should be fine alone. Just the attention that TJ Watt draws, it'll open up the field for these guys. The concern becomes corner. I think that in this draft where you might want to add some depth at the skill position players, it never hurts to improve an offense, especially you mentioned at the tackle position, they could use some help. But I see corner as your biggest weakness. Losing Cam Sutton to the Lions, that stings. But you brought in Pat Pete. He's old. He showed that he could still play last season, but regardless, I still think you need to upgrade. Kazi was a solid corner last season, but you need to improve at the corner position, in my opinion. I feel like there are some good draft prospects at the corner position.
And believe me, they love to telegraph where they're going in the draft, whether it's Najee or Kenny Pickett. This year, they're making it clear they want a linebacker or more specifically a corner.
I was going to say
a linebacker.
Linebacker definitely could be of help.
Jack was horrible.
He was.
He's gone now, too.
But in my opinion, I feel like secondary is very crucial to a defense where, yes, I think you just need that one guy, especially after losing Cam Sutton. That really did hurt you guys. But I believe in the talent of this offense. I laughed when you said we can make the playoffs because you said there's no doubt in my mind. It was just the way you came across. I wasn't laughing at the statement.
It's the Joel Moran absolute specialist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I definitely believe in the talent of this team. There's a world they win 10 games. I believe in that. I believe in this talent.
9,
so
back years.
I just say double-digit wins. That's why 10 games was the first number to come to my mind. But it really is dependent on what they do in this draft, and it's also dependent on Matt Canada no longer being in Pittsburgh.
I have a bet with one of my Steelers friends, Jared, I have under 10 wins. He has 10 or more. I have under 10 wins.
Okay. 10 or more is a very fair bet.
It is. And the one thing that really stood out to me that John said was this could be a make or break year for Kenny Pickett, because a quarterback going into year 2, you don't really think of, if this doesn't work out this season, he's going to go on to another team or they trade him or whatever. But you also got to think Kenny Pickett's going to be 25 entering his second season. This is a guy who played 5 seasons of college. He was a super senior. So the potential of a guy who is getting drafted at 24, going to be 25, and you already saw to an extent his ceiling in college, I still think it's a fair thing to say that year 2, obviously he could still progress, but you want to see some significant strides, I think, from year 1 to year 2. And Kenny, we know, doesn't have the biggest arm. He's not the most athletic, but I think the biggest thing he can do is almost in a Joe Burrow type, just being mentally smarter than everybody. Because I have a hard time believing Pickett's going to be able to tear up defenses just with his natural ability being a quarterback, whether that's running or throwing. He's accurate. He can throw with anticipation, and he has wheels too. He's not an immobile quarterback by any means. But to talk about the Steelers a little bit too, I like the roster. It's not bad by any means. There's some holes there. When I look offensively, I just wonder what your specialty is going to be in a sense, because I like Najee. I think he's a really good running back. Is he Derrick Henry? Is he CMC that you could build an offense around? I don't know just yet. I don't know if he has the explosiveness enough to do that. And then we look at the wide receivers. I like Deontay, probably wide receiver 2. George Pickens has that wide receiver 1 potential, but you can't really just label him that already. Yeah. And the defense has made improvements, but still corner is a number 1 need, I think, pretty common. But this is a really good cornerback class you could get throughout the draft, not just round 1, day 2, and day 3 as well. But what I'm really focused on is with Matt Canada, how this offense is going to run, because year 2 with Kenny Pickett, they're going to make it more about him. You just spent a first-round pick on Najee Harris, who, after there was the bye week, I believe, really turned it on and looked like
took
that.
The plate out of his cleat, opened up his game completely.
And looked like the Najee Harris we saw, rookie year Najee Harris we saw at Alabama. It's just tough division. You got Burrow in there. You got potentially Lamar and Deshaun Watson. And Kenny Pickett is pretty comfortably the 4th best quarterback in that division. So it's really, it's not the craziest thing to say, is this a make or break year for him, just because the upside does seem capped with the 25-year-old second-year quarterback.
Second year for quarterbacks is always a roller coaster ride. Sometimes you believe in them too much, and sometimes you believe in them too little.
Sometimes, you know how like rides go like tick, tick, tick to go up? Sometimes it just goes around.
Sometimes it just collapses completely. When I think about the Steelers, I just think about one of the more stuck teams in the NFL.
Wow.
Because the quarterback position is so important.
Welcome to the club, brother. You're on the show. Your favorite team now becomes Joel Moran's least.
The quarterback that you have is just somebody that he's shown some moxie. After the bye week when you guys went 7-2, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, 84 passer rating, there's some stuff there. But, you know, what is Kenny Pickett at his best? And to me, when I think about Kenny Pickett at his best, probably a little better than Daniel Jones. Not nothing special, though.
At his best, he's Daniel Jones, what he was this past season?
A little better than Daniel. He hates Daniel Jones, so a little better than Daniel Jones, the below average quarterback.
It's an average quarterback.
And by the way, Daniel Jones clears KP.
Or a good one. You know, John.
If you gave Daniel Jones, Deontay Johnson, and George Pickens, goodness gracious.
You know, John.
You gave Kenny Pickett,
Brian Dable. It's facts.
And this is the thing I think about, man, is that the way you just openly felt comfortable disrespecting an MVP in the NFL.
Matt Ryan.
John is somebody
who's
that
39 years old.
He disrespected one of the staples of an organization. He disrespected Carr, Derek Carr.
Did he?
Kenny Pickett would kill to be Derek Carr. And if Kenny Pickett becomes as good as Derek Carr,
this guy was watching last
you're
season.
dancing. You're hula hooping.
You know, I remember Kenny Pickett outplaying Derek Carr at Heinz Field,
Oh, yeah.
beating
That was a
him.
movie.
And that was
Oh, yeah.
actually Derek Carr's last game as a Raider, where
Oh,
he
yeah.
had 3 picks, lost in the game.
The
took him out of
last
playoff
game
position.
or the last player's interception.
And Kenny Pickett, Kenny
Yeah.
Pickett, game-winning touchdown
yeah.
on Franco Harris. You know, so I think Kenny
2016 Derek Carr, familiarize yourself.
Yeah.
Now.
Pickett, 7 years ago.
Yes, this is what I did with Matt
Familiarize
Ryan.
yourself.
That really is
Derek
what
Carr
it
is
is.
better
Just
than
a
what
year
Matt
ago,
Ryan
he
is.
led a team to the playoffs with a lot of dysfunction.
Daniel Jones did as well, but you're low on DJ.
Daniel Jones did not lead nothing, man.
And why is
Huh?
it? Yo, let me think about this. So you like Baker Mayfield a lot because he's got the intangible. You don't like Daniel Jones, even though he has the intangible, and you don't like Kenny Pickett that much, though he has the intangible. Maybe it's because your
Does Daniel
pre-draft.
Jones have the
You know what?
intangibles?
His
Yeah,
pre-draft
Moxie.
comp for Kenny Pickett, you know who it was?
What was it?
Taysom Hill. That's why.
Taysom Hill? What's that? actually
Taysom
Tom?
Hill. I said Taysom Hill, but a better thrower than him.
For Kenny Pickett?
Yes.
I forgot about that.
What is that a bad
So
one?
that's I think
It's a pretty bad
that's
comp,
why-
I'll be honest.
It was a pretty bad comp.
I don't even know what that means. Just,
You know, John is trying to cook me right now. Alice, let me rebuttal John, because it's enough disrespect at this table that's going on right now.
yo,
I'm
no,
here
the
for it.
It's a
Taysom
lot
Hill
of
shit is
disrespect.
wicked.
Now, let me get into my bag right now. When we talk about Daniel Jones, he just showed out this season. Yes, I like Baker Mayfield. I'm not delusional about Baker. I'm rooting for him in Tampa Bay because I want him to get his career on track. Just like I think we like to root for players to, find their way in the league again. Baker Mayfield had one of the better rookie seasons that we've seen in recent history. Was that Kenny Pickett? Hell no. If Kenny Pickett had the rookie season Baker Mayfield had, you're over here telling me Kenny Pickett's a top 10 quarterback this upcoming season. That's a fact. Baker Mayfield led the Browns to the playoffs and got them their first playoff win since 2002.
Daniel Jones with the Giants, their first playoff win in 12 years.
The Giants have two Super Bowl championships while I've been alive.
What's
Doesn't
the
matter.
difference?
What have the Browns been? They've been nothing. Baker Mayfield restored life into a lifeless franchise. They were 0-16 without him. He comes in, they win 7 games. Now that's a guy with moxie. Daniel Jones has not shown
Yeah,
that.
they didn't just add Nick Chubb,
And-
Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett.
Baker Mayfield was also good. He was also throwing dots to Jarvis Landry across the field in his rookie season. Now, John, you would kill for Kenny Pickett to be Baker Mayfield as a rookie. You would kill to have
He won
Kenny
more
Pickett.
games.
You would kill to have Baker. You would kill for Kenny Pickett to have year 3 Baker Mayfield numbers.
What
You
about year
would.
2 Baker numbers?
Freddie Kitchens is the culprit.
Oh.
But John, the disrespect you
so
get
you're
to
for
Derek
Baker.
Carr,
It's
yet
always-
you try to prop up a quarterback in Kenny Pickett, who he might not even be a starter in a year.
I
mean,
never
come on.
propped up Kenny.
Let's-
I didn't sound
let's
like you
be
propped
honest.
him up, to be
Let's
honest.
be honest about your team for a second. Yeah, the receivers are cute. George Pickens, Deontay Johnson. Listen, I like the talent. Your linebackers suck. Elandon Roberts, Cole Holcomb
Cole
is
is a
average.
roster.
He is
Linebackers.
average.
What are we
He
doing
is
here?
average. He's the epitome of average.
I like
Because
Holcomb.
you guys took a fire on Miles
But
Jack,
doesn't-
and he was
Miles Jack
horrible.
stinks.
Doesn't
And
edge
Joe
rusher matter
Schobert
more?
before that. Then you signed Pat Pete. You might as well kept Cameron's son. Why did you sign Pat Pete? It was
They
literally
added Isaac
it was
Samuel
it was
along with
a,
that.
it was a
That's
lat
big.
it was a
That's big.
lateral move. The only good offseason move this offseason for the Steelers has been Isaac Samalu. Everybody else has been whatever. Nate Herbig, you're gonna sell me on him? I've seen defensive tackles blow by him all season
He's
long
a
with the
backup
Jets.
guard.
What are you talking about? He's a backup guard.
guard.
Come on, what are you talking about, John? Your team is cooked. You're not as good as the Browns because they have Deshaun Watson, who I
No.
think even if
He hates Deshaun Watson.
I
even
don't know what he's doing
even
right
if
now.
even if Deshaun Watson has a season where we're like, wow, they really give him that contract, that's still better than Kenny Pickett. Let's be honest. Deshaun Watson on a mediocre day is Kenny Pickett at
Don't
his
pull up
best day.
numbers to compare the two.
I'm checking
Don't.
I'm checking the last time the Browns finished above the Steelers in the standings because last time I
It's been
checked
a
it wasn't a live.
Joe
yet.
Burrow, the Bengals,
But
oh yeah,
didn't
they're
they
way
match
better
up
than
in
you.
the
We were in the playoffs.
Didn't they smoke y'all like cigars?
Yeah, it
That was
bad.
our down year. The Steelers
Down
down,
year?
year.
You went 11
the
0.
The Steelers down year is a wild card loss. The Browns' best year in the last 25
You
years.
guys missed the playoffs
going to the
last
second
year.
round.
Your down year was this past year when you guys went.
Not to mention,
Oh, you guys went 9-8.
This past year they went 9.
That was the rebuilding
This
year.
fucker never
That was
goes
the
under
rebuilding
500.
year when they switched a Hall of Fame quarterback and a Hall of Fame GM and still finished above
Mitch
500.
Trubisky.
And
Lost
not
to the
only
Jets,
that,
lost Zach Wilson.
but I look
And
at the
Fort Mitch would have won 10, 11 games.
I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's coming down.
Let's be
Even
honest.
if I'm not
Mitch would have
confident,
won 10, 11 games.
We would have without him if Kenny
Oh,
started
oh,
all
my bad,
17.
my bad, my bad.
Yeah, if Kenny started all 17.
He wasn't being the Jets.
He would have.
Kenny might have.
Drunk.
You saw the first
Zach
half.
Wilson was
Continue.
dog shit the
Continue.
entire
No, no,
fucking
quarter.
game.
Continue with
about
that
it.
thought on
He
the
was
Browns.
elite.
Let him
Yeah,
finish.
he was.
it's not even the Browns. It's the Ravens. Even if I'm not confident Lamar Jackson starting, Tyler Huntley can be comparable to Kenny Pickett. He was just a Pro Bowl. You know that, right?
Are you going to respect
Pro
Mike
Bowl.
Tomlin, bro? At what point does he
I
get
do
put into
respect
this
Mike
mix?
Tomlin. Eventually, he will have a losing season, and it's gonna be this
Sounds
season.
like you're praying
What
on
is
it.
he
You
doing?
were praying
I'm not playing on
it.
that downfall. I'm
What
just saying
is
he
John-
has been
What did I
amazing.
open his monologue with?
He
I
loves to
said,
hate
welcome,
He's been amazing.
welcome to the show, because now that you're on the show, Steelers are now one of his least
When
favorite
have I
teams.
ever liked the Steelers? What are we talking about here?
Never heard
There's
you
just
talk
never
this
been this
nasty
agenda
on him.
push to negative Steelers talk.
He
I don't
said
know the
that
last
they
time
can make
the
the
Ravens beat
playoffs.
the
I don't think
Steelers.
you're not making the.
It's
Listen, you're not
unlikely,
making
but
the playoffs.
it's not
You're
out
not
of the realm
making
of
the playoffs.
possibility.
Really?
Listen, the
I wouldn't bet on it.
Steelers, for some reason, the Mike Tomlin effect is very real because y'all went 500, above 500 with a rookie quarterback who was average. I mean, he was average, and a washed Big Ben. I don't know how you guys get away with mid-ass quarterback play to horrible quarterback play these last
impressive.
couple seasons.
A
But
mid-
this
a
year,
mid
I
Big
guarantee
Ben
you're not
who
getting
led
away
the
with
league in
it. You're not
fourth
going to get
quarter
away with it.
comebacks. A mid Big Ben that won 9 games. And here's the other
Made the
thing.
playoffs.
You made the playoffs. Great point. You overlook the fact the Steelers have T.J. Watt, reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Alex Highsmith, a breakout edge rusher across him. This
He's
has 13
great.
sacks.
He's great.
That's
Talk about
arguably
Minka.
the best outside linebacker duo in the league. We
No
talk
doubt.
about productivity.
No
You have
doubt.
Minka Fitzpatrick,
No doubt.
Arguably the best safety in the
arguably the
game.
best safety in the
No
game.
doubt.
Those 3 players right there makes them one of the better defenses at its peak without even including what they're going to do with the 17th overall pick. What happens to the Steelers draft if they get Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois or Christian Gonzalez?
Be hot.
What happens to that defense
Joey
now
Porter.
that Patrick Peterson gets to mentor one of those guys? Plus, we have one of our guys in the slot. Whatever you want to call it. The Steelers defense has the upside to be top 5, top 3. We've seen it before.
No, they don't. I'm sorry. No, they don't.
Ooh, top 5, top 3.
All right, if you're
They
saying
were just
all right,
top 5 2 years ago and 3 years ago when they were
Because
healthy.
you had a fraudulent schedule. You started 11-0 and you were
That was
ass.
nuts, yeah.
You weren't even a good
You
team.
need TJ Watt to stay
You
healthy.
lost in
need
the
Watt-
first round to the Browns.
You need,
I hope you know that.
You need Watt to stay healthy for 17 games to have a chance of that.
no, you said top 5 offense or top
Top
5
five
defense?
top five, top
I
three
almost
defense.
I almost threw up thinking that you said offense. Defense, just say
You have a
top
better
10, make
you have
it
a
more
better
comfortable.
chance top 5
If
defense
we
than
get a
top five
quarterback
offense.
one, that,
no
if
doubt.
we get a quarterback one like Devon Witherspoon, that's a top 5 defense next season. If TJ Watt plays all 17 games,
Yeah, rookies don't
and
always
the fact
come into
he's,
the
he's
elitist
giggling
corner,
him like
though.
that. 2019 was top 3 defense with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph under center.
That's a fact.
If we could run the football
It's
and
really
have a halfway
dependent on
decent
TJ.
offense,
Exactly. You need
then we
TJ
can-
Watt healthy the whole season.
If we can have a better offense earlier in the year, TJ Watt won't be gassed out. I mean, against the Bengals, we played over 100 snaps in that game, and that led to TJ Watt getting injured right at the end of the fourth quarter. If TJ's on the field less and getting more rest, he's not going to be hurt as much. So that's the difference here.
If Kenny Pickett is Ryan Tannehill for the Steelers,
W.
where do they finish in the division?
Above the Browns.
Is Lamar Jackson on the Ravens or no?
Yes.
Third place.
He's on the
Maybe
Ravens.
fourth. I don't know.
Yeah.
Third place seems like best case scenario.
And
That's
you
what I'm saying.
You would think for a Jets fan, right?
Oh,
that-
John.
Oh, now you're coming at the Jets because I just spit some facts at you.
It's never easy.
There's nothing you can tell me about the Jets that I don't already know.
That's
you
except
wouldn't
about Zach
come
Wilson.
and try to slam dunk in the Steelers who have a head coach.
I
one
wanted
of the better
Derek Carr. I wasn't
defenses?
slandering Derek Carr at all. You were slandering Derek Carr when you got a mid quarterback yourself.
He didn't slander him. All he
Yes, he
said he
did.
just had
He disrespected Derek
not the
Carr.
best footwork.
He disrespected
All he
DC4.
said is that his footwork
he
wasn't good.
disrespected DC4.
That's not disrespect, I don't think.
You
What
disrespected
were you
DC4.
going to say about the Jets?
It's rich coming from a Jets fan to throw all that at the Steelers when they have a proven head coach, right? Hall of Fame head coach, one of the better defenses. And with Najee Harris, if Kenny Pickett take a step forward this upcoming season, they can win
That
10,
means
11
even
games.
more for Najee as well, though.
So you look at the Steelers team and you feel like they're mid. I understand where you're coming from, where they don't have a top 5 quarterback in the making. But we've seen the Steelers in the past maximize their rosters.
Sure.
And I feel like if you can get a good offensive coordinator in here, they can be the second best team in the AFC.
I
North
hope
for a
you. I
long
hope you
time.
know that the
You're-
Jets.
Oh, man.
The Jets have the
Toxic.
same amount of AFC Championship appearances as the Steelers in the last 12 years.